3 tiny hyena cubs scramble frantically in the thick, suffocating mud as massive crocodile jaws snap just inches from their fragile, shivering bodies. They kick their little legs and fight with every ounce of their fading strength against the brutal, lightning-fast ambush. The adult hyenas manage to frantically drive the ancient reptiles back into the murky depths of the river. The 3 terrified cubs lie completely motionless on the cold, unforgiving riverbank, their tiny chests barely moving, rapidly losing body heat and slipping into a dark, silent unconsciousness. From the tall, a solitary female zebra named Zara emerges into the clearing. Just weeks ago, a ruthless lion pride violently snatched away Zara's only foal in a gut-wrenching midnight ambush. She stops dead in her tracks. Her large, dark eyes lock onto the 3 lifeless forms bleeding in the muddy riverbank. These are hyenas, the very creatures born with bone-crushing jaws, biologically designed to brutally hunt and kill her kind. A terrifying predator is lying completely vulnerable right at her hooves. She could easily walk away, but as Zara stares at the shivering, dying cubs, the hollow, agonizing ache in her chest aggressively pulls her forward. She slowly lowers her heavy head, her warm, grassy breath washing over the freezing predators. With surprising, heartbreaking tenderness, she extends her rough tongue, gently cleaning the freezing mud from their black fur to desperately stimulate their tiny, failing bodies. She folds her long, striped legs and deliberately lies down right in the thick mud. Directly next to her, absolute natural enemies. She tucks the 3 shivering hyena cubs tightly against her warm belly, wrapping her thick neck over them like an impenetrable, loving shield. She is giving them her body heat, her life force, her absolute protection. As the cold night fully descends over the vast wilderness, the cubs slowly stir. They are unbelievably weak, but they aren't afraid. Instead of recoiling, they press themselves deeper and deeper into the zebra's striped fur, desperately seeking the ultimate comfort from a mother they just met. They are simply terrified orphans, and she is simply a desperate, grieving mother with entirely too much love left to give. Over the next few turbulent years, Zara completely abandons her native herd, retreating deep into a secluded, heavily shadowed marshland to fiercely protect her impossible family. Raising apex predators brings an excruciating, silent burden that constantly weighs on her soul. Zara paces nervously in the moonlight as her rapidly growing cubs practice their deadly hunting pounces on blowing leaves and snapping twigs. She sees their muscles bulging. She sees their teeth growing sharper by the day. The hyenas grow massive, their shoulders thick with dense muscle. But their bond with Zara only deepens into something truly mind-bending. When danger aggressively approaches the marsh, the hyenas do not scatter or bare their deadly teeth like typical wild dogs. They freeze completely. They press their heavy bodies tightly against Zara's legs, intelligently using her striped shadow to perfectly break up their dark silhouettes and completely mask their scent from passing threats. They learn to lower their heavy, powerful heads and exactly mimic the posture of a grazing herbivore to completely avoid detection. Years fly by in a flash, and the harsh wild takes its inevitable, brutal toll. Zara is now incredibly old. Her steps are heavy, her breathing is deeply labored, and her back is slightly swayed by the unforgiving, heavy weight of time, during a scorching, punishing dry season that turns the landscape to dust. She wanders just a little too far from the safety of the secret marsh, desperately searching for fresh water near a treacherous subterranean riverbank. The glassy surface of the water completely explodes. Massive, prehistoric jaws clamp violently onto Zara's front leg with bone-shattering force. A giant crocodile, incredibly hungry and ruthless, violently drags her toward the deep, fatal, churning water. Zara collapses onto her knees, tossing her head in sheer, agonizing pain, fighting a desperately losing battle against the monster's unbelievable, thrashing power. The cold water rapidly rises over her heaving chest. The fighting spirit rapidly drains from her exhausted body. The haunting, painful memory of her lost foal flashes vividly in her panicked mind one last time. She stops pulling against the massive reptile. Suddenly, the thick brush beside the river completely erupts in a storm of dust and fury. 3 massive, shadowy figures launch themselves through the air with terrifying, earth-shattering speed. It is the 3 adult hyenas. They do not hesitate for a single fraction of a second. They do not calculate the immense risk to their own lives. They hurl their heavy, muscular bodies directly into the snapping jaws of the furious crocodiles. The largest hyena, bearing a thick, jagged scar across his powerful shoulder from a previous hunt, deliberately throws himself entirely in front of the largest reptile. He bites and thrashes with savage, blinding fury, willingly offering his own life to draw the monster's deadly attention completely away from his adoptive mother, while the scarred leader fights off the monster. The other 2 hyenas do the impossible. They grab Zara's thick, leather-like hide with their incredibly powerful jaws, intentionally dulling their deadly teeth so they don't pierce her skin. They push their massive, heavily muscled shoulders fiercely against her trembling flanks, using their incredible brute strength. They literally drag the heavy, completely exhausted zebra out of the crocodile's death grip, heaving her violently up the slippery, dangerous mudbank to absolute safety. The crocodiles, completely overwhelmed and battered by the ferocious, highly coordinated counterattack of these fiercely loyal predators, finally surrender and retreat into the black depths of the river. The 3 battered, bleeding hyenas do not act like triumphant, bloodthirsty predators who just won a brutal war. They urgently, frantically circle Zara, gently nudging her trembling legs with their bloody snouts to ensure she can still stand. They lick her deep, bleeding wounds with incredible, heartbreaking tenderness, whining softly in the quiet air. Then, the largest scarred hyena does something absolutely unbelievable that defies every law of the African wild. He presses his massive, blood-stained head heavily against Zara's trembling neck and releases a soft, rhythmic chuffing vibration from deep within his chest. Zara violently shakes the dirty river water from her graying, exhausted coat. She slowly lowers her incredibly tired head and rests it heavily against the coarse, thick mane of her scarred adopted son. If this absolutely incredible, awe-inspiring story of wild loyalty and unconditional animal love deeply touched your heart today, please subscribe to the channel, share this emotional video with fellow animal lovers everywhere, and always remember that, sometimes, the greatest, most powerful family of all is exactly the one we courageously choose to build against all the odds.
Thanks for being part of this elephant's journey. Like and subscribe the button to help us share more stories like this. See you next time.